Oh, hello. Okay, I think we're all here. Hello, everyone. We're going live today with how to resolve conflict effectively. And yeah, how did everyone enjoy the sermon today?
Yeah, it was great. I loved that it was just inviting us deeper into like resolving relationships, um, like on a core level. That's what stood out to me was like how to have a healthy relationship and to have deeper harmony in relationships in your life. That's what I liked. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it also. I thought that it gave me a completely different perspective on what conflict actually is. And of course, the point of like resolving conflict is peace, but I never thought about it as like looking for that inner peace and harmony, how it benefits everyone, and receiving harmony from it. I thought that was really interesting.
What I really loved about it was how, it started with just a simple example of conflict between like a child and a parent, something that a lot of people can resonate with. But then Jeff and Shaleia like started there and really showed us the process of dissecting it and resolving it, and showed us, it's really not about what the answer is, but it's all about finding that harmony within. But then they also took it into a broader context and like showed us how it can be applied to any situation and any conflict. And I really loved the perspective that they introduced of like even seeing, two nations or two cultures that you're not a part of, and just taking the perspective that it's just a dialogue, that they're coming to that inner harmony within themselves. And like that was just so peaceful and so healing that it was like not something that I need to go in there and fix it or like show them the way or like show them the higher perspective, but just like choosing peace for myself and growing that peace is actually the way to share that peace and like um grow the peace and build the peace that they were talking about. So yeah, I love that we kind of got the micro and the macro context, which was very powerful.
Yeah, I really agree with a lot of what everybody has shared so far too, in terms of your perspectives. And just hearing the sermon, I was really reflecting on just like how I view conflict, how I maybe handled conflict before understanding the mirror exercise. And it had me reflect a lot on my work as a therapist too, because conflict is something that is brought into the sessions a lot. And it feels like, yeah, this idea about just finding peace and harmony within, I feel like that's not what a lot of people think about when it comes to resolving conflict. It's almost like, well, I want you to hear what I have to say, or I want you to listen to me. It really comes from the state of control. And then I think even when it leads to that, there's not the sense of peace afterwards. There might be guilt that comes up, or just this bad feeling because just this peace and harmony isn't brought up from within. And I just think that is just like such a beautiful perspective to look at it. And there, I can see just how much peace and harmony can come into society, right? If everybody was able to look at resolving conflict in this way. And so, yeah, that just like really stood out to me. I think almost like feeling into the contrast. And I think what is underneath conflict for a lot of people, right? And it really is, yeah, just like embracing that peace, like really going deeper with it. What is the upset really? How can you create that peace within yourself and then allow that to then like manifest into your external world versus the opposite?
Yeah, I love that. Like that's what came up for us too. A lot of that in regards to like finding the peace in the situation. Like for us, a lot came up for us, particularly during this sermon. We've been working on healing conflict in our life, and in regards to divine dish, something that we were gifted just recently by Jeff and Shaleia. Yeah. So this was like perfect, so incredibly healing for us. And so, would you like to share what came up for you?
Sure. Like I had like been experiencing conflict. I guess from like a young age with my family, like looking to my parents and my family as my source. And I like just kind of all unpack this. Like anytime I was hurt or anytime I like needed to get out of a jam or whatever, like my parents were there, my family was there to resolve the matter. And it like, there was an imbalance in the relationship because my parents aren't my source, right? Like God is my source. And so like that continued even now, like present day, where like if I felt stuck in creating menus or just felt stuck in general, like my family was always like there to kind of fall back on and provide like some kind of support that I wasn't going to God for. And when I like noticed that and let that go, like that freed up a lot for me to like go to God, like, and not put that, like, that's a unhealthy relationship to like, especially on my, for, you know, on my parents, to like depend on them or rely on them, and vice versa, right? For the family dynamic to be on me as well. And it was pretty perfect because it's, you know, that was right there for us, like the past couple of days of what we've been working through.
Yeah, we've been dissecting it, like Jeff said in the sermon, to dissect the thought behind it, like really go deeper into dissecting what is there for you in those thoughts and finding harmony there and finding where the wrench is, like in your life. And we were gifted the wrench. We like, it was laid out for us on a silver platter, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And so we were able to go into all these different places and choose harmony and really start letting go of a codependent relationship or imbalance in our home. And it all is about doing the mirror exercise, like Jeff and Shaleia taught. Like, it's just, okay, let's mirror this. Let's love ourselves there. Let's go to God here, and continuing to do that to resolve that conflict within us. And that's what we also see, you know, in math and in the military and in what I do. It's like you hold the peace. And I loved last week they talked a little bit about the sermon they did last week on political harmony, and that's something that they talked about. Like, truth has unlimited power, and it's important for us to recognize our power so we feel empowered and we're not leaking our power, because from that space you can move with God and resolve any conflict that's presented to you. And I just love how complementary these two particular sermons are.
Yeah, I just want to like, when I first learned of this, it was like, okay, what's the action step? What's the action step? Like that's where like I had this propensity to take an action step.
Pull you back.
And instead of like resolving the conflict like within myself first.
And gaining that clarity, like Shaleia talked about today, like gaining the clarity first prior to the action step. And so I was really disciplining you there through the process to like, we're not clear yet. We're not clear yet. We're not clear yet. And then once we got clear, it was very harmonious and incredibly simple for you to make a new choice. And so, yeah, it's something that it's important to root it out all the way to the root of the core of it, and do that within yourself first prior to action. Yeah.
Yeah, I love like the vision of like Jason initially going to his parents and then seeing that shift and that refocus, like going back to God, and the relief that brings, that like, I guess problem, we use the word problem, like that you're facing. And like, as soon as like you go to God when there's conflict, like within yourself, within a relationship, there's immediately that ease and that relief and that clarity that is found. And it frees everything up, and you know, your next vision like is given to you. So that, like, just as like Jay was sharing, that I felt that experience that he was having. And like taking it deeper, like what I learned here was like when you're like finding peace with someone, it's not about like either like completely like I guess getting dumped on, like if there's conflict, like saying, okay, like I surrender, I'll just like get dumped on here, or like projecting yourself onto someone and controlling. It's about dissecting that thought process and finding what feels like juicy and in alignment for like yourself and for both people, I guess. Essentially yourself. Yeah. So that's another thing I took away.
Yeah, I really love that. That's actually what I was feeling too, like going back to God and really getting clear there. What I liked in the example that Jeff and Shaleia gave is like with the daughter and her mother, and the mother presenting an idea to her. I think in conflict, it's most people's gut reaction to become defensive because they want to prove their point over the other person's point. But what I liked about what Jeff presented to us was that it's about choosing humility and really choosing to receive what the other person is telling you, and then going in and reflecting on that. Like in the example with the daughter and the mother, the mother is presenting, you, I know you better. You really want to look sharp. You really want to look clean here in this photo. And the daughter's like, well, I really want to be authentic. And it's about really being like honest and like, what is my core value? What am I really searching for here? And getting clear with God there and yourself there. And then, yeah, making the appropriate decision, having the humility to say, she's right in this situation. I'm going to go ahead and wear that. And I thought that was really powerful, a really powerful way to look at it.
Yeah, I also feel like a lot of conflict comes from withholding, like the defensiveness and like a lack of humility. That kind of space comes from wanting to withhold love or whatever from the other person, from God, essentially. And so like it's a space where you're not wanting to nurture a relationship, and you're not wanting to give to a relationship by having a dialogue or entertaining a different point of view, etc.
I guess for me, what was really healing about this is because I still have like, I noticed coming into the sermon like some resistance to conflict, and like I've healed a lot around that. But like I really love how Jeff and Shaleia was saying it's not like, it doesn't reflect poorly on you if you have noise coming at you, just like the same if you have peace coming to you, it doesn't necessarily reflect well on you. It's actually what you choose to do with it. And I think like I've had a tendency to, if I experience a lot of conflict in relationships, instead of seeing, okay, it's something to work through, being like, oh, well, this is just not a good relationship. And I think like this has been very healing, to be actually willing to go and dissect it and find out what is the truth. And obviously I know through doing this work, like it is all a reflection of, my own inner state. But it is actually really, I like that Daniel touched upon this, the humility side, because it is really important to be humble. But I think it's also because like for myself in arguments or disagreements, I know one of my own patterns that like I've been presented with at times is just kind of being steamrolled and wanting to like compromise and just like keep the peace. But that's that's not what the peace is. That's not how you actually have peace. And so I think it's actually been very healing, the sermon, just to actually get very clear on what conflict is and see, well, you don't have to compromise on harmony, but conflict, you're going to move through that at times. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or that, it doesn't reflect badly on you, but it is part of actually a relationship just getting clear, or you getting clear within your relationship with yourself and actually sharing that clarity with somebody else. And that's how you know if this relationship is actually serving you or not. If you don't have that clarity, if you don't have that peace within, you're not going to know, and you'll just manifest that in the next relationship that you have. So it's actually very, very empowering to see this, not to seek out conflict, but not to shy away from it either. And like I already know that like I'm still going to be digesting this for a while to come, so I made a lot of notes and I will rewatch the sermon. But I'm also really enjoying this discussion and just seeing already how it's helping me like look at like the idea that I held about conflict very differently. So even having done this work for a while, so it's very it's always about going deeper, I think.
Yeah, while you were talking, like I really thought of I think it's it was in a life purpose class, but Jeff talking about like we're only ever experiencing one relationship, and that relationship is with God. And so I really love that. It's always spoke to me at a deeper level. And any place I'm, you know, experiencing conflict, it's just me taking responsibility for that. Like, you know, Jeff had talked about today in the sermon. And something else that came up while you were talking, Karina, was like when Shaleia noted this, like people think they're getting something out of the conflict. Like there's something that they feel they're receiving from that relationship there.
Like drama, when you have drama in a relationship, then you can see like, oh, this person loves me because there's drama, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's something like, you know, that somebody is choosing or thinking they're receiving from, they're getting something from it. Like they feel they're getting something from it. Do you have something to add there?
Yeah, like they think you really have to look. I mean, you really have to explore your feelings and see like what the relationship is, right? Because like, you know, like you're saying, Karina, if there's drama, like people kind of associate, oh, there's dramas, so there's like a back and forth to the relationship, so there must be a relationship. Right? And like, so you really have to explore your feelings and find out if there is an actual relationship or what it's based on, right? What the foundation of it is.
I'm just like processing what you, what you just said. Yeah, like I also think like Jeff noted in this particular sermon, like conflict in our relationships is no longer okay. Right? Like it's time for us to choose harmony. It's time for us to weed these things out and choose harmony in our relationships, choose peace in our relationships, because we want to continue to ascend. We desire to continue to refine and choose peace and harmony. And this is part of it. And I love too that like we're here with our soul family, and our soul family has experienced like conflict. We have, but something that we're partnering today, and it's beautiful. And it's something that Jeff had mentioned is like our partnership is so much more valuable than our conflict. And that's such a divine like feeling for me. Like I love our family, and you know, to know that we can partner in this way and have fun and talk about something that we all love and it just be peaceful. It's beautiful to see that partnership unfold at a deeper level. And honoring that. And that's at the individual level, the family level, you know, when you're talking about governments and war, we talked a little bit about war today. Jeff talked about like, you know, we are ending war. It's starting to end, and that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
I'm curious, Chrissy, like since like obviously war came up and like, you know, you being in MAP, what did it mean to you as you know, CEO of MAP, and like what did the sermon mean to you and the work that you're doing?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry.
I feel like it's the obvious question. It has to be asked.
That's what Sage said when Sage messaged me. She's like, "You're the obviously first person to ask to, you know, do tea time." I'm like, "Yeah." It's beautiful. It's something that like I deeply desire, and like I love Matt. I love helping people end this conflict that they're having within themselves. And like I'm very passionate about it. I get very passionate about Matt very quickly. And like I do want to end war. I do want us to be in peace. And it starts, you know, at the individual level. And like it starts healing at the individual level, and then collectively healing and continuing to push that momentum forward through our own work. And we have a vote here, and we have our presence is enormously impactful. And that's what was talked about last week in regards to the same topic is that like us choosing to clear our consciousness, us choosing to align into peace and harmony is so incredibly important. Every vote counts, every person counts, and every person who's choosing to do this work, every person who's here choosing to heal, I am immensely grateful, because I desire everyone to have these gifts that we've received with this work. and it's beautiful. And the more they talk about the end of war, the more we get the clarity, like we have, like Lisa talked about the prophecy that was gifted to us this week, and then we're going to talk about that on Tuesday. It all means something. It's so important what we're doing here, and I believe in it with all of my heart, and I'm in it, and I'm devoted to it, and I'm committed to it, and always, and I trust God, and I love God, and I'm grateful I have found God through this work and through Jeff and Shaleia's teachings, and yeah, it's all I want to do.
Can we get a hallelujah? Because Jeff said hallelujah for the first time in the sermon.
Yeah, he did. He said hallelujah. Yeah, I love that too. Like, yeah. Just I'm very passionate about our purpose work. Like it lights me up, inspires me deeply, and that's how everyone should feel about their purpose work. It's important to find that within yourself and choose it and grow it. And you know, Jeff noted a quote I wrote down was, "The kingdom of God is a system of thinking." Right, and we've been equipped with the tool to use for that. So yeah, is the mirror exercise. Did that answer your question? Okay. So,
yeah, I love you, Chrissy. Oh, Jay wanted to say something.
25.
Yeah, Jay will tell you. Don't get me started on that. That's all I'll talk about.
Well, thank you for answering, Chrissy. I think it was important to speak to you, right? So yeah, there, like one of the, like right at the end when Jeff channeled like so many I guess you could say decrees or affirmations, like the one that really stuck out to me was, only that which is peaceful will express itself through me. And I just really love that one, and I really fully claim that one. So.
Yeah, like you know, I go to work every day with people who are in trauma, and I love them every day. And it's not like an energy of you know, fighting back. It's just a choice to love. You don't, it's not fight, and I would never fight back. It's just a choice to love them and choose love and put up healthy boundaries where required. But it's always just peace that holds the floor in any situation. And it's like they said last week, I really loved the complementary of these two sermons. But if you want change, peace is the place to have a lot of impact. And as I choose peace, I am having impact, and like I choose it, and that's, you know, I recognize that I'm empowered there, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was thinking about just presence and peace too, just with what you were sharing, just like just loving everybody that you're working with and just being fully present with that love. And it brought me back to a quote I jotted down about, like, in times of peace, there's always prosperity. And I think just always like trusting as you also come into this place of humility, right? And then you're more present and just like choosing peace within yourself. It is that trust with God that you're going to be given the clarity, the answers, the peace that you're desiring. Yeah.
So I'll just read some comments here as we like, you know, just digest what we just noted. But Lisi said, I appreciate how Jeff and Shaleia showed us it is the most peaceful choice that matters. Whether the girl chose to follow what her mother told her to do or what her heart told her, the conflict was within, and however she arrived at peace and alignment with God was the way forward. It looks like somebody might have commented over it, but yeah, that I love that too, Lisi. Like that understanding. It was a great analogy and example of how to you know, move through feeling controlled, move through feeling like you're losing yourself, or like, you know, your mom wants you to do something that you don't want to do, into what's actually truly the best. Like finding that clarity is really important. Right.
Actually, like as we were talking now, like something that came to me that was really interesting. I think the first thing, if you'd asked me before the sermon what I would have thought about conflict resolution, the word would have been boundaries. And it's very interesting that, like, of course, there was mention of borders and stuff, but that wasn't the main thing that was spoken about. And I think like for me, I'm recognizing that I thought boundaries, like it's kind of this knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, I need to protect myself. And like that's kind of the defensive energy that I think Christina was talking about. So I actually feel like this was such an empowered way of looking at conflict resolution. And I'm not saying boundaries aren't necessary, but I just find it so healing to like let go of that kind of knee-jerk reaction and like be more empowered and to see exactly also what Lisi pointed to. It's just the harmonious way forward. It's not about like block it off, block it off, block it off, like stimmy the flow, because that's ultimately not actually how you resolve it. You know, and you might in a state of peace recognize, okay, a boundary is required, but you know, I think I had a misalignment about what a boundary is in that case. So this was actually really, really good to learn. So I don't know, that just came to me.
Yeah, I feel like I work on this with people a lot. Like you want to like place a knee-jerk boundary like out of fear. You actually end up feeding the conflict because you every time you're like reminded of that boundary, you're just like reminded of the conflict. Rather than if you work through it, the boundary naturally arises because the situation vibrates out of your reality.
Yeah, I was feeling that too, Christina. Like as Karina was speaking, like unless like just setting that boundary without like resolving it within doesn't actually like it doesn't resolve anything. You're still in that heavy energy. So it just brings a greater perspective and awareness to like how to resolve like relationships and conflicts, of course. Yeah. I experienced that like that a lot with like I'm bringing like being brought back to like my relationship with my biological family. Quite often like my reaction was just to like set a hard boundary, but I would still have a lot of like stuff within that I needed to heal. So there's a lot of maturity that can be brought to relationships here.
Yeah, like Jeff said in the sermon, like a lot of times it's people's first, like their first reaction is to do the outside thing and handle it on the outside, and that's like you know the incorrect order of resolving something or coming to conflict resolution within yourself is to like take that step outside first. It's always to find that peace within yourself first, and then you determine what the action is.
But what I also like is I like that their example wasn't just like sit and meditate and do the mirror exercise, but actually work through it with the person, because you can do that. And maybe sometimes taking space to do your inner work is the right thing. Like it's not wrong and that's the right way. It's just, I do like that it isn't just like go sit in a cave and meditate kind of way of living your life, because life is meant to be engaged with and interacted with and lived. Like that's the point of life. And that's the power of this work. And so even though we turn within, it's like the point is you don't actually separate from the world when you do that. You actually deepen your relationship with life when you do that. So I really, and yeah, it might be like feel like more mastered to be able to, have the awareness of the presence of your feelings while you work through it with someone and not be so triggered that you don't know what you're saying. Like that's okay too. The point is just to be able to process and work through it. But I like that the way of like actually choosing peace and relaxing into it allows you to work it out with the person in real time, like, and get to that clarity of what do I actually want here, and get to that together, essentially. Whether the other person wants the same thing or not, that's irrelevant. It's all about what you want. So.
I was reflecting a bit, just when Karina, when you had shared, what, conflict resolution like initially meant to you. And yeah, I was thinking, I feel like my initial thought was, okay, how can we come to a compromise? How can we make whatever kind of the surface level thing that it appears we're fighting about, or have conflict about go away, right? But the word just like resolve really stood out to me, right? Resolving a conflict, and just thinking, yeah, it really is just like resolving that feeling, you know? It's not, let me make this go away. It's coming to a resolution, not pushing it down or pushing it aside. And that's just a word, just the meaning of that really stood out to me. Because I think, yeah, it's so true. You know, if you don't resolve it within you, it's still there, as we know from the work with the mirror exercise, right? That's why it's important to come to this resolution, but otherwise it's just going to pop back up without having, I think, that resolution internally. And so that was just almost like this big aha moment or light bulb moment for me now, just thinking about like conflict resolution, just the importance of resolving those feelings and those upsets and coming to that place of peace.
Yeah, I know it takes a great deal of willingness to be vulnerable to actually have a dialogue. Because I think like once you learn the mirror exercise, there is sometimes that tendency of like, I can get around dealing with anybody because I can just work it out within myself. But that's only part of the solution. Like you have to be willing to give and receive in your relationships. And so it takes a lot of vulnerability and a lot of willingness to give and receive within that relationship. Like both parties have to be willing to you know, be exposed in a certain way, right? And that's it's actually the mature thing to do. And as we recognize more and more that we're eternal, not being willing to resolve conflict with somebody, you're just putting off the discussion that you might need to have, rather than like, you know, just addressing it head on.
Yeah, while you were talking, I thought of like something that we learn in Twin Flame Ascension School is like, you have to let go of being right. Like no one, it's just the truth that matters. And if you're only ever seeking the truth, you will come to harmony and peace. You will come to clarity. So it's like, you know, being humble, being surrendering to God, surrendering to harmony. So, you know, like being humble. I think, what does Jeff say? Like surrendering to the feet of humility and choosing truth. I think I quoted him
like
once.
throwing yourself at the feet of peace.
Yeah, that's what he said. Thank you. Yeah, throwing yourself at the feet of peace. Like, amen. You know, like that feels so good. Like just surrender all of the shit and choose peace. And from that place, you'll always find harmony. You'll always find partnership. You'll always find the clarity that we seek. And I just love that. Because it's like a sure thing. The mirror exercise is a sure thing. You know, like we can trust it. We can trust the spiritual process unfolding in our lives. And as long as we're continuing to choose peace and love ourselves and like heal whatever we're shown, the minute that we're shown it, like the minute that we have awareness is key, like that's all you need, then you have it. And that's what they're offering here. I think they gave us like a checklist at one point and they said, you know, identify the conflict, look inside yourself, resolve it, and come into harmony. That's an incredibly mature way to live. And, you know, closer to the end of the sermon, Jeff said, you know, make that choice. It starts with you. It starts with you making the choice to grow to a mature, harmonious, peaceful world. And it starts with us. It starts with every single one of us making that choice, regardless of where you are in your journey or what's going on in your life, making the choice to be spiritually mature, choosing to love yourself and to handle anything that arises in your life with peace and harmony. And you can do that through the mirror exercise. You know, it's always the inner that matters. The external doesn't matter. That will be handled once the inner is in peace and harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, like, the desire to feel good should be like, you know, first and foremost, before anything else.
Just gonna check in here and see what everyone's talking about. Somebody asked for the affirmations that we're discussing. Those are in the sermon today. So if you watch the sermon, you can naturally find those affirmations for yourself and, you know, write them down. would the close person you're having conflicts with definitely be in your next life? Should you expect to have conflicts with them then, if not resolved in this lifetime? My recommendation to you is just maintain presence and handle whatever is going on with you now. And as you do the mirror exercise and you heal it, you can trust that it's healed. Believe in the work, believe in the healing. So just maintain presence. Don't worry about, your past life or next life, or just be with yourself now in the present moment and choose healing and choose peace and harmony. And so it is.
And also, like, maybe the person themselves, you won't experience the conflict with, but you'll experience the conflict over and over until you do heal it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, I'm happy. Who just said, yes, I'm happy with India's step to make peaceful decisions to resolve conflicts with China and Pakistan, because there's no more need for war and borders doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, that's very true. Like Shaleia had mentioned that we're coming to the end of the border war, which is great because it's been going on since before Sykes-Picot, like a really, really long time ago. So it's great to have that, like, that clarity, and to start just developing partnerships and letting go of that conflict and choosing a peaceful world. And we're part of that. We're part of that movement. It feels really good.
Yeah, I even feel like that was quite prophetic too. It was like part of, since we mentioned the prophecy, or DC was talking about the prophecy discussion taking place, like I really felt that was very a prophetic kind of, the next step of the ascension, or like the next step for the world and the next level of peace for the world. So.
So as we move forward, Karina, you want to pull a card for us? See what comes up.
Sure. I didn't know if you wanted me to ask, though, or wait to ask. Anyway, so I'm going to pull us a card from the Keepers of the Light deck just to finish off this discussion. Because we love cards, right? I also really loved Drake's reading today. It's really
good. It was great. I say yes to love, Drake.
I say yes.
When you were doing your card reading, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the card I got from the deck is Kuan Yin, Care and Compassion. And I actually think this is like really, really important also with conflict resolution. I guess we didn't really talk about the compassion side, but what comes to me is like, yeah, conflict, it's because you recognize when you do this work, this is a conflict you have with yourself. It takes a lot of compassion to be willing to go to that place, to actually accept yourself, to love yourself unconditionally. And so I really think it's a really, really good like friend of humility to have compassion for yourself and to recognize it might be very challenging. And it is a process. So if you are experiencing a lot of noise or a lot of conflict, like it's important to support yourself through that and claim the support that you really need to have that compassion for yourself. So I don't know if anyone else wants to comment, but that is our closing card for today.
Yeah, I also feel that sometimes when we're in conflict, we sometimes tend to like dehumanize the other person. Like we forget that they're also a child of God, also moving through their own piece of it, right? And yeah, I think it's having compassion for yourself helps you have compassion for others. And it's the most compassionate thing for the conflict to be resolved so that, you can restore your divinity and their divinity, like within the situation, like in your mind.
Yeah, I love that. And like as you two were talking, like first I love that, like having humility and compassion is humility's friend. That was really insightful. And I have a massive amount of compassion for myself. I do. Like I think on this journey, like having compassion for yourself and loving yourself is really, really important. And it helps you give. And I just wanted to take a moment as we start winding down to congratulate and thank our donor who made like she hit 10,000 in tithings.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sandra did. So like, thank you. Yes, let's give her, everyone just give her a round of applause. That was huge. And thanks for highlighting her to us, Lisi, and taking time to honor what she's choosing to give. And as you come into deeper partnerships in your life and you come into a place where you're starting to value more, like you give more to your purpose work, like there's more space to give. There's the more harmony you have, the more purpose you have, the more peace you have, the more, like it all aligns, and it's an incredible life to live in peace and harmony, and it feels really good. So I love that closing card, because you can have, that's the appropriate stance to have with anyone that you're having conflict in, is compassion for them. Because they're making a different choice than you, as you're choosing for yourself, and it's okay to just honor their choices, honor your choices, and have compassion for everyone involved. So yeah, I think that's perfect. Just checking in to see if Carmen or Carolyn have any closing comments.
I agree with what, you're sharing about the compassion. I love that. Like the more compassion and peace that you're finding within yourself, then the more you have to give to be able to love and have compassion for others. And I think, that is such like an important piece to remember. Or when you're having just this inner conflict too, having compassion for yourself through the process to help you come to that place of peace too. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, just like finishing off with compassion is just a key resource to resolving all conflict. Yeah.
Good. Let me see if we have any like additional closing comments, or does everyone feel pretty complete here as we wind down off of our card?
We feel complete here.
Yeah, I do too. Great. Well, that was great. I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone makes that choice to grow a mature, harmonious, and peaceful world. Feels so good. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.